So here are 7 things that web designers overlook that you should be charging for right now. It's really easy to get into this freelancer mindset, even if you're trying to build an agency, because a lot of times you might start out as like an agency of one, and you're wearing all the hats and doing all the things, and it's hard to think through all the individual things that you're actually doing because you're the one doing all the stuff. But eventually, you might have individual other people wearing some of the hats, so you're not doing all the things, and you're gonna need to cover these 7 really commonly overlooked expenses in the price of your projects. The first one's project management. Think about all the time that goes into talking with the client, developing a roadmap, reporting on the milestones, even the time that goes into landing the client before they even sign the contract. There's a ton of stuff that goes in, a ton of time that goes into working with clients that oftentimes gets overlooked when you're pricing your project. So think about when maybe you hire a project manager. That person's going to have a salary, right? And so all of that project management has a cost, even if you're the one doing it. So don't forget to charge for project management when pricing your projects. Thing number 2 is managing your internal team. So in the way that project management sort of looks out at the time invested in your clients, there's also the time that you invest in your own team, even if it's just outsourcing. Like say you outsource a logo design to somebody. You got to explain the project and where your client's coming from and deal with change requests. It's not just the cost that the freelancer charges you to design the logo. There's also the time that you invest into managing that relationship. So don't forget to cover that in the price of your projects as well. Number 3 is the cost of your equipment, and this one's super easy to overlook, especially if you've already got everything paid off or whatever. But like, what about your camera? What about your mic? What about your laptop? It's like, even if everything's paid off now, it won't be long before you want to get a new laptop, right? So you want to make sure that you price the cost of your equipment into your project price so that when it's time to upgrade your laptop, there's money there to do that. So don't forget to price the cost of your equipment. And the 4th one is your office space. Have you ever thought about that? It's like, even if you're working from home, you still have heating and cooling and internet service and phone service, and there's stuff that you need to actually be able to deliver the project. Where like, say if you don't have internet service, how are you supposed to build websites, right? So that's a cost that you're incurring that it's really easy to overlook, and you don't put that into the price of the project. Especially if you're just thinking of yourself as kind of like a freelancer where you're trying to hit an hourly rate. You're thinking, oh, well, if I make this certain hourly rate, then that's great. But as you build out the agency, you're going to need to think about all the different costs, because eventually you might even have office space to pay for if you're not working from home anymore. So you need to make sure that you build in that overhead cost into the price of your projects. And that's a really easy one to overlook. So if this is making some good sense and you're liking it, go ahead and thump the thumb for me. That will help people discover the video. Here's the 5th one. The 5th one is education. Even if you're not taking a paid course or a class somewhere, I mean, people like you and me, we constantly have to be on the bleeding edge of everything, and that involves spending some time in education. Okay, like say a new version of your software comes out with some new features you've got to learn, or something totally new comes out that you have to learn. And again, even if it's not a paid course, you might want to take a paid course to kind of speed up the educational process, but even if it's just watching some YouTube videos, you're investing time in that. And if you don't cover that cost in the price of your projects, you'll stall out, you won't be furthering your education, and then you won't be supporting your clients at the level that they need from you. So don't forget to price education into the cost of the project, because if you don't have the education, you won't be able to do the project as well. So it's clearly a cost in the project. Make sure you don't overlook that one. 6 is marketing. The 6th thing that people generally overlook is, I talked to tons of web designers, and almost everybody forgets to have a marketing budget. Like you tend to, especially when you first start out, you're thinking, oh, well, I'll get some referrals or I'll get some organic leads from somewhere. I don't have to pay for the leads. And that can work in the beginning. But as you're beginning to build out more of an agency structure, you're going to need a marketing budget, because think about all the stuff that you might need to do to the cost of acquiring a client. Like when you begin to get out of the freelancer mindset into the agency mindset, that's a very real cost, the cost of acquiring a client. It could be what you spend on ads, but it doesn't have to be just ads. Maybe you go to a WordCamp or a conference or something like that, and you've got to travel there, and you got to stay somewhere when you get there, and you got to eat food while you're there, right? So there's costs that go into just kind of doing that networking. Or maybe you join a BNI group or a Chamber of Commerce, and there's the cost of getting involved in those networking groups. And that is how you get the clients. So when you're doing a project for somebody, part of the cost of doing the project is the cost of acquiring the client in the first place, right? So you want to make sure you build that cost into your projects as you're pricing it all out. The last one is profit. So the seventh thing that almost everyone overlooks is building in a profit margin. So you probably have like a business bank account, right? So like you're not just spending all of your personal money for your business, but you don't want to like sink the business bank account down to zero every time you pay yourself. You want to make sure that that business bank account is growing over time so that the business itself has value. Because again, think about when you begin to start bringing on more people so you don't have to wear all the hats. Like you need to have money in the bank account to cover everybody's salary and all the other stuff while also building value in the business itself. So what's a good profit margin? What if you start at 20%? Put like a 20% profit margin in there. So you think about all your costs and everything that you're covering as far as the expenses, including these kind of 7 hidden things, and then kind of bump it up 20% so that you're building profit into the business. So that's a huge thing. And especially if you're new to it, like if you're kind of still at that agency of one level, thinking about a profit margin is really important. Now, what about getting leads? So what if you don't have the marketing budget right now? What are you supposed to do about that? Well, there's a couple things to think about. First of all, you don't want to be out there just trying to sell web design services to people because you're not going to be able to get leads at the price point that you want if you're competing with other people that are doing the same thing as you for less. Right? So like if you've just got the stereotypical web designer website where you kind of list your services, show your portfolio, sprinkle in some testimonials, and then kind of ask people to call you, it's really difficult to get the leads, at least the quality of the leads that you want at that level. You'll end up having to justify your prices for why you cost more than everybody else and why are your websites more than $500. And you really don't want to do that, right? Because what people like you and me, what we really want to do for our clients is we want to drive results for them. And so you don't want to have this misalignment between what you really want to do like in your heart for your clients and what you say that you want to do on your website in terms of your services. So if you want to get results for your clients, you want to talk about the results on your website. And that means you're going to need to know what the solution is up front. You're going to need to have a solution first agency in order to be able to make that shift. And that's really the secret, especially now with all the changes that have happened, especially over the last few years, this huge boom in the freelance community and everything. The real way for seasoned professionals that really have a lot of powerful skills, the stuff that you and I can do, the way that you get the clients for that is not by just offering sort of generic services, but you offer actually a powerful solution. So if you want to learn how to do that, click the link in the description. I just put together like a 45-minute sort of video course to show you how to build a solution-first agency, and not just how to do it, but also why it's important, so that you can get the leads that you want at the price point you want. Because I guarantee that if you start talking about results and solutions, as opposed to like skills and services, you'll get way more leads at a much higher price point, and you'll really be set apart from all of the beginners that are just out there trying to build cheap websites. So check the link in the description. Check out that video on how to build a solution-first agency right now for free. But what if you don't have a marketing budget at all? Where are some other ways that you can get some leads? So check this next video here, and I'll show you a bunch of overlooked ways to generate leads for free.